Okay, so there's a lot of drama that is surrounding It Ends With Us, and believe it or not, most of the drama has nothing to do with the movie. And not even the book. It is only after this movie's promotion started coming out that I found out that people have a problem with the book and the author, which is shocking for me because It Ends With Us was the first novel that I ever read. Before that, I had only read self help, and out of the three novels I've read so far, it is my favorite. But apparently, people have a problem with the way the author portrays men in the sense that she romanticizes controlling behavior, I guess. But for the very fact that these were characters that were written by a woman, the way people say this person was written by a woman is that they are doing and saying the right things. So I don't think it would translate to the real world because these are scripted characters, and in the real world I don't think someone will be able to play that role in the way that you want them to. And so for that reason I just thought it's a character that stays in a book. I didn't really think people would relate it to the real world, but I digress. Even as I was reading the book, there were things to me that just seemed off. Like, for instance, the names were very cringy because Atlas for us in our schools was a geography book, and the name Ryle just was really hard for me to pronounce in the beginning because I was like, what sort of name doesn't have vowels until the end? I was like, is this Riley? And also the letters made me cringe a little, the backstories made me cringe, but it was the right amount of cringe. I don't know. I think it softened the blow that was the message of the main story. It was through this book that I finally understood why people stay. It's because the book itself makes you go through those emotions. You are also wondering, should I leave this person? Should I not? You fall in love with the character. You get to see them as a human being who is just messed up. And so it makes it so much harder to escape because when we hear that people are committing DV, we see them as these monsters. But then you get to see them through the eyes of the person who is in the situation. On top of that, my best friend is the one who recommended the book. So I can only imagine how excited but also scared we were when we heard that there was a movie that was going to come out. I finally understood why book girlies or book people get so scared of the casting because you really want the character that you imagined to come to life. And honestly, I was more willing to be forgiving of the other characters surrounding the main character, which was Lily Bloom, but wasn't willing to give up the image that I had of Lily Bloom. And then I saw the casting, and it was Blake Lively. This was really a tricky casting for me because she is not the face that I was expecting, but also it was someone who I couldn't hate. And just to give a backstory, I have never watched Gossip Girl, I have never watched Green Lantern, I have never seen anything Blake was in. I just knew her as Ryan Reynolds' wife, and not in the demeaning way, but in a really proud way, in the sense that they managed to make that relationship work in Hollywood, where she still had prospects to do acting gigs and all this, but she honored her decision and desire to be an active mom. And so I always liked her from that perspective. I also love their relationship. It looks like they have the same sense of humor. It looks like they have a really healthy bond between them. And so that was my only look into who Blake Lively was. I didn't even know she was part of the Taylor Swift squad. So it goes without saying that I was really rooting for her in this movie. I was looking forward to an outstanding performance, which makes it more shocking that I haven't seen it yet. The cinema is quite far from where I am, so I'll be waiting for a free weekend. But from every review that I've heard so far, the movie was great. It was a great portrayal of the book. But why is this so problematic? Apparently, the PR is a nightmare. I'm not necessarily someone who looks into movie promotions, and so I was really shocked to see that so many people were just appalled by the answers that Blake was giving to questions about the movie. I decided to look at the videos myself, and I found those four things that people found problematic. Number one is she said she didn't look at Lily Bloom as someone who was just a DV survivor, but she looked at her holistically as someone who had all these things things, a business, and she was thriving in so many areas of her life, which is true if the movie itself wasn't about DV. It's not like idols or talent shows where your backstory plays into you going to the next round or not. It's a movie about DV, and so that should be the main focus of it. It is a movie about a girl who is well-rounded everywhere else and still experiences this. It shows that it's not a certain type of people who get into the situations. It can be anyone. So the main focus was not that she experienced DV, but she's all these other things. It's that she's all these other things and yet she still experienced this thing. And so we shouldn't stereotype people who go through this. It is a problematic situation that we should be dealing with as an entire society, if that makes sense. The next thing is it was being advertised as this flowery, girly thing, like go with your girls to watch it. So it was a little bit jarring for people who didn't know what it was about, who just thought it's another rom-com or something along those lines. The third one is the interview where she was asked that since she's acting as the main character of this movie, if people who had gone through similar situations to what was portrayed in the movie, if they wanted to come up to her and talk to her, how would she respond? And she made a joke out of it, talking about, oh, if they're looking for my location, should I send it to them? And then we talked. And then she said, I'm a Virgo, which made the topic of the movie even more unserious because of the way that question was answered. People who've never read the book wouldn't know what is being talked about. The other thing is just a mix of so many things that were happening during the promotions, like why is Ryan Reynolds here? Why is Wolverine here? Why is Deadpool's mother here? Why is the other main character not here? Why are the main actors putting out different portrayals of what this movie is about? Justin was advertising it as what the actual message of the book and the movie are, which is how to end generational trauma and to answer questions that surround DV, like why do people stay? And Blake was advertising it more as this well-rounded woman who happened to experience DV. I think that the PR was such a missed opportunity. In the time we're living in where we're focusing on mental health and victims, it's incredibly shocking that they didn't take full advantage of the movie to address the very prevalent topic. It could have been such a great conversation starter and a unifier of people who don't understand and people who've been through it and people who are actively going through it. Like the book or not, in that area, it really does a good job of really putting us in the shoes of people who are in such a relationship. And it really does help people. I, being one of the beneficiaries, immediately weird things started to happen. I noticed the cycles because that book had laid such a good foundation for me. Also, I love Ryan. I love a good laugh. I love their sense of humor. I just think it wasn't the time because even though you might laugh sometimes, it's not a rom-com or a comedy. There was no need to lighten the mood because it hadn't become dark in the first place. As I was looking at all these videos, I tried to go in from the perspective of someone who had not read the book, and I realized that I wouldn't even know what the movie was about if I had just listened to these interviews and promotions, which is quite sad because I think it was a really missed opportunity to address a very serious and relevant issue to talk about. I believe empowerment is great, but we also need to go through the processes of getting out and then healing, and that is what this book and movie is about. And genuinely, I think they had the right intentions at heart. I didn't think they wanted to ruin it. I think they wanted to make it more empowering and girl power. But the thing is that the book already had an audience and the audience knew what they wanted, and what they wanted from the PR was not what they got. Anyway, if you stayed this long, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Help your girl in the algorithm, and I will see you in the next video.